This is Parahan, and you are listening to The Parahan Show. You know, I have this interesting Bigfoot theory as to why he's remained so elusive all these years. Now, if Bigfoot is indeed a primate, then he has the ability to climb trees. I mean, even gorillas at some point in times do climb trees. So think about it. If this Bigfoot creature could climb trees and could actually move through the tree line, it could hide from us in daylight. It could hide from us in plain sight, and we'd never see it moving through the trees. You see, a lot of reports of Bigfoot is that he's often described as being able to disappear or simply vanish without a trace. But that seems, realistic if he's moving up and climbing up a tree and then hiding in the trees, right? And we would never suspect that, and we might walk right by him and not realize he's up in the tree above us. And I think that's how he remains hidden in the woods, because he moves through the tree line. I think he sleeps in the trees to protect himself from intruders. So I think he spends probably a majority of his life up in the trees as opposed to on the ground. And it's when he does come down to the ground, maybe perhaps to get water or hunt, then that is when we do have these encounters. And also to add to that, right? If Bigfoot is some sort of missing link, half man, half primate, okay, then perhaps he has the intelligence of a human, but the strength and the ability to climb as a primate. And you have the perfect evolutionary species there who knows that it's safe for him to hide. He knows what humans are, he knows what humans do, and it would be essentially safe for him to avoid them at all cost. Or these groups of Bigfoot, right? They know that remaining hidden is their best protection against humans. And so they know when you go into the woods and you're searching for them. They know when people are setting up cameras trying to catch them moving through the woods. And they would pass right by those cameras, because if they could climb, then they would never be at eye level and you wouldn't catch them on a camera. And I think it's interesting, when we're searching for Bigfoot, no one ever thinks to put a trail cam up in a tree. They always put it at eye level, thinking it might just walk by. But I think Bigfoot is more intelligent than that. It's going to notice a trap. It's going to notice you setting up a camera and trying to film it. And I think it's going to avoid that area completely. And I think that's why this Bigfoot creature, if you will, has remained so elusive and hidden for such a long time. And you think about it, going back to a lot of cases of Bigfoot, people often hear vocalizations or sticks or objects are thrown, but they never essentially see these Bigfoot creatures. And could that be because they're up in the trees making vocalizations and they're throwing sticks and things out of the trees, and you would never even be able to know that they were up in the trees watching you as you were out in the woods? And I think being up in the trees as well gives them a good vantage point. They can see everything. They could see you before you see them, and they could see you coming from miles away because they're way up in these trees, and it gives them the higher ground. So it does make a lot of sense. In seeing as the primates, it's interesting we never talk about it. We think of them being more human and human-like, that they live on the ground, that they walk on the ground. But I think they spend the majority of their life up in the trees. And, with these Bigfoot encounters, right? I think these the reason they use these vocalizations is because they know that it's better for them to remain alone. instead of being in large groups. And I think they're smart enough to know that being in big groups could attention and actually get them caught, get them exposed, and they would have a better chance of survival being spread apart. And I think these vocalizations are a way that they communicate to one another from across an area, so they can still actually communicate. They just travel and move spaced out, so therefore they're not as noticeable in a large group. And also it's protecting the other Bigfoot, essentially. So just an interesting theory that or that I had. I'd love to hear your input and your intake, because this is just a theory that I had, but it's interesting. We don't really talk about that when indeed Bigfoot most of the time is described as a primate.